Do you love popcorn? I love popcorn. I'm a popcorn aficionado. I love watching a movie or getting into a show late at night, grabbing a big fresh bowl of popcorn, and nothing beats the true, authentic movie theater popcorn at home. I'm going to show you here how to do it. Not only very inexpensively, but 100% authentic. And I'm not talking, it's a clone, it's close, it's kind of, I'm talking, it's the exact same thing. And you can do it at home. I'm gonna go through some options here. You can get in on this really inexpensively or do it like I do and do it long-term inexpensively. But here's what you need to know. Making the real theater popcorn at home is all about three things. One, using the right ingredients. Two, using the right ratios, following the right recipe. And that can be tweaked just a little bit to taste, but for the most part, it's set. And then three, using the right kind of equipment. You don't need one specific model of popper, for example, but you do need a kettle popper for the best results. So let's go through this option. First of all, don't mind that it's a little dirty because I use the snot out of this thing and I don't have to clean it every single time. Pretty much the only stuff left is salt. You don't have to worry about this thing growing bacteria on you, but you do want to wash it out every few times. It's very easy. This is called the Little Bambino, and this is, simply put, the most inexpensive unit that you can buy to get this authentic kettle experience. Now, it's inexpensive not because it produces lackluster results, but simply because it is entry level. It gives you the bare minimum features to get you the popcorn that you need, but it doesn't give you any extra or any luxury features. What you have is a light, and it's pretty much just for light. They call it a warming light, but it really doesn't put off any heat. Some of the larger units out there definitely do have actual warming bulbs. So if you have a bunch of popcorn down here that has to sit for a while, it will keep it toasty. Now this particular unit, I got under 50 bucks on sale. It's not that much more regular. And you have a arm here that tilts and dumps all the popcorn that comes out. You have a little flap here and it spins via a motor that attaches on the top. It's just a wire going around on the bottom and a heating element. That's all there is to the mechanism. And it pops right out for wiping out. You don't put this in the dishwasher, you just gently wipe it out with paper towel or a rag and you're done. We have a very basic removable plastic tub here. And that's really it for feature-wise. Now, why you may want to go with a more expensive unit with better features, it all depends on a couple things. Primarily, how many people are you popping for? It's usually just me. Sometimes the wife will enjoy also. This pops the equivalent of one large bag of microwave popcorn at a time. And you have to take this out and dump it in your bag or your bucket and then pop your next cycle each time. So this large bucket here is about the equivalent of a typical theater large bucket, and it holds 2 batches at a time. So that's the volume that you get. Very good volume, more than enough for both of us watching a movie. That's about all we can take. If you need more than that, if you have a bunch of kids, if you have a lot of people over, if you just want more popcorn, or you want it available all through the movie and you want to have a supply ready, you definitely need another unit. Now this one pops very efficiently, takes about 2 minutes to warm up initially, takes about 2.5 minutes to pop each batch. And you can pop batches one after the other. You're simply adding a little bit of oil and adding the kernels and waiting another 2.5 minutes, and it pops and you dump it. And you can keep repeating that as long as you like. So it is very simple, but you have to sit here and do each batch every 2.5 minutes or so. So if you're just looking for a small batch machine, this one definitely does produce results. The other cool feature that the more expensive ones give you is a grate on the bottom, and you're able to open the door separately. Now, if this bin was not in here and you open this door, the popcorn falls right out. So you always have to have this in here, and you can't have it running and popping and have the door open. Some of the larger ones give you a reservoir. They also have a grate at the bottom to filter out the unpopped kernels. So they'll fall through the bottom, and then you can actually use a scoop like the actual movie theater and scoop the corn right into your bowl or bag. So that's something else that's good for larger groups and simply faster distribution of the popcorn. But none of that matters to me because I'm just doing 1 to the most batches at a time, and it's perfectly fine. So that's it for the machine. Other than that, it's flawless. Here's the switch to turn it on. Starts the heating element, starts the little stir stick, and that's all there is to it. And they all work exactly the same way. They're gonna have differences in the size of the canister. This is obviously the smallest one out there. They go 3 or 4 times larger so they can pop a few gallons of popcorn at a time. Whereas this one pops, you know, like I said, about a microwave bag worth, maybe a half gallon at a time. And you are limited to that period. You can't put any more in here and get more out of it, because what I found was, and believe me, I found the limits just to try and see what happens. If you put more kernels in than it's rated for, they just start flying out after the corn starts popping. All these extra kernels just come out of it. So it does truly only pop so much per batch. Now this bucket I showed is actually pretty cool. It's plastic, dishwasher safe, nice and sturdy. And like I said, it's about the size of a true large at a movie theater, which is great because that's typically what we go through if we actually go to a movie theater, which has been a while. But they're on the expensive side. This was $10 for a single. You can get them in 4 packs for about $22, and they come in some different designs. I just needed one, and I needed something that would last, so I splurged on that. You definitely don't have to get this go. When you buy a machine, they're gonna come with little actual single serving paper bags. So if you're into those and you like them to say popcorn or theater or whatever, definitely go ahead and use those up. But I like little splurges like this. I'm not gonna have to buy another one for years, and we're good to go for that. The only other splurge that I did here was this pump. It's a commercial pump. It's made for these gallon jugs. This is the topping, and it was over $10 just for a freaking pump. Not the oil, just the pump. So those are the only 2 things that are definitely extra. You definitely don't need them, and they have nothing to do with making the theater popcorn, but long-term, trust me, it makes it easy. So let's talk long-term. You can see that I have large quantities of stuff, and this is where the cost savings come in. Now, I'll go through the ingredients in a second, but know that you can get all of these real ingredients, the same stuff, in pre-made packs, pretty much like a dishwashing detergent pack that you just throw in and you're good to go, and it's got all the different stuff in it. They have popcorn packets for that. So you open the pack, you dump it in the machine, you turn it on, and you're done. The problem is, long term, they are 10 times as expensive. They're up there with the most expensive microwave popcorn bags. If you buy in bulk, 1/10 of the price per actual popping. So I have no problem spending more up front and saving huge amounts long term. You buy these large sizes once, these are good for hundreds of gallons of popcorn. I'm not exaggerating. We've been through buckets and buckets. The corn is just now starting to come down. Can't tell this has moved. Can't tell that stuff has moved. This came in a 2-pack, so there's lots of options. All right, so let's make some popcorn. First of all, this is the popping oil that we're using. This is coconut oil that is artificially colored using beta carotene, same stuff that's in carrots, and it does nothing but color the popcorn yellow once it's popped. Kind of a little theater secret. Yes, you can use plain coconut oil. It will taste exactly the same. We're using, for this particular machine, 2 tablespoons. You don't have to worry about getting it exact. You just need enough oil in there to pop the kernels, but trust me, you don't want to put too much in, because what happens is after it pops, you're left with a very oily mess that you have to wipe up. And you'll find that balance. If you do it right, all you're really left with is dry salt. If you've got a little too much, you're going to have goop everywhere. So figure out what you want to use. And here's my tip. Use a knife to actually put it in. Don't use a measuring cup or a spoon, because it's impossible to get it into the reservoir. And I have just simply eyeballed, by doing it enough, how much I need. You put it in and just scrape it off on the edge. And that's all you have to do with the popping oil. So next we're going to turn it on, and it's going to heat. It's going to take about a couple minutes. The coconut oil will melt, and then we'll be ready to put in our test kernels. So just take a peek in there after a little bit. And as soon as all the oil is liquid, take literally a couple kernels, 2 or 3 at the most, and plop those in there. Now, as soon as they pop, you know the temperature's ready and we can put in the rest of the corn. There's 1. There's 2. All right, now I put in the rest of the corn. 1/3 of a cup level. Trust me, don't put more than it will hold. And now for the secret, the Flavicol flavored salt. I use a 1/2 teaspoon at the most. This is to taste. But what I find is the ratio on this and the ratio I find other people like is way too salty for my taste and saltier than the theaters that I go to. You put it right in the kettle there, you let it go, close the door, and as soon as it stops popping, we're gonna leave it running, tip it over, empty out what's left in the bucket, turn it off, and we'll have our popcorn. So now the popping stopped, we're gonna tip it over, bang out the corn that's left. We leave it running because that stir stick will push anything else out. Turn it off. And now we have a tub full of fresh, delicious, yellow colored popcorn. Let's go ahead and put it in the bowl and put on our butter. All right, so here's the other way to do this to taste. Of course, it's your butter. This is the Snappy's Butter Burst. This is the identical stuff to what they use commercially. And like I said, this pump really does help. However much you want to put on, you put on. Toss it around. If it were movie night, this is where I would have the second batch already going. It would go on top and fill up the rest of the bucket. And then we have our delicious theater popcorn at home. See you next time, guys.